right, team. Welcome to the Boulder Athlete Podcast. I'm Josh, and I'm hanging out with Gina Cacciotti Wellner
You
today.
see that. Good job, Josh.
Thank you for coaching me on that. We did it together. Total team effort. Um, Happy Friday, Gina. Happy Friday.
You too. Did you just finish your boulder workout? Because I just did about an hour ago.
I got mine done this morning. That's typically when I do it, usually between like 6 and 8:30. Doesn't take me 2.5 hours. I actually get it done in less than 90 minutes. I'm usually warming up and then, yeah, 90 minutes or less every day. But okay, before we get into the things, I got to give you your intro. You provided so much good detail, Gina. I'm so grateful for you and all this detail. And this is becoming the norm now for folks to give me all sorts of good stuff, which I love. It gives me so much insight and context on how we can steer these conversations. So thanks again for sharing that in advance. Now, Gina, you're 58 years old. You're a dental hygienist. You are an NASM certified personal trainer, and you are a CrossFit Level 1 personal trainer as well. You live in Kennewick, Washington. You train out of CrossFit unrestrained. You've been doing CrossFit for 14 years. You're a wife. You're a mother of 2 kids, I think.
Yes.
And you've been a Boulder athlete for about a year.
Yes.
And now here you are. You're hanging
Yeah.
out.
Yes. I'm a certified nutrition through NASM also. So it's just all over the map. Whatever we need. So it works.
You got it covered. Okay. Well, we have a lot to get into. So first off, I'm going to say thank you again, just because I'm really stoked that you're here over on my side. You're also in Washington. It's a beautiful Friday.
Yes.
We've earned this. We need this sunny weather. And so of all the places and things you could be doing, you're hanging out here, which I'm grateful for.
Window. So the sun is in here. So it's great. So it feels like I'm outside. So I'm ready to go.
Okay, let's do this. Well, we always start with background, and you have so much background to get into. I kind of want you to steer this journey because I'm interested in like where you'll start it. You have an athletic background of a lot of different things. Sounds like you've grown up as an athlete. You've participated and competed in several different event types. You got a lot going on in your life right now, and I want to get into all of it. So if you could just walk me through a little bit of your background, start wherever you want to start, and then we'll pick up some discussion from there.
Okay. Well, kind of listening to some other podcasts, it was great to kind of hear some background on other athletes. I'm the youngest of four, so I had two older brothers that were kind of close to me, and they were pretty athletic. So I kind of grew up kind of as almost like the tomboy in the family. My father was very much on getting us into sports. He owned a restaurant bar type of thing, so he wasn't home a lot. So, but when he was just like very much into trying to help coach or anything we could, and I just became the one that just kind of just wanted to be my dad's little girl, but also just athlete was where it was at. So um, he always laughs. We used to laugh. He passed away many years ago. I was one in my early 30s. So it was really hard to go through because he was like the one I wanted to please. So when I got into college, it wasn't long after that he didn't get to see me play everything. But um, so anyway, I've always grown up to being an athlete and absolutely found that that just kind of came easy for me. But also, he was really good at teaching, like, kinda kindness and humility. That's kind of a I've always just grown up with that and that just taken that over the years, and I've just loved that part of it, so the athletic competitiveness and always I think you mentioned one time about being externally driven, that is definitely me. Like, I have to have something to always out there. It's probably, just a just a blessing and a curse, right? So anybody that's been along with me along the way, I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm this athlete, just constantly have to have something out there, but I do. So I
Yeah.
guess that took me through high school and college.
Yeah. Can I ask? I want to dig into that actually. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm curious your perspective on, you said it's a blessing and a curse. I certainly have some perspective on this, but I want to hear from you. What do you think the curse is? Like, what's the downside of this, the dark side of being extrinsically motivated? What comes to mind for you?
Well, I think what happens is I'm just you see a lot of people kind of go into their down phase, or I hear some people say, I'm going to take this year off and let my body heal and kind of just let things go. But for me, I'm really driven by not just the goal, but it's fun for me, right? I mean, I enjoy this so much. I mean, the curse part is it trying to just like settle back in and just say, okay, I'm not necessarily, I don't need to train anything. In my back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, I do. I totally do.
Eh,
Kind of where that mixes a little bit into, trying to be humble and stuff. But, you find that, I find that humility is a great thing, but also, you tend to be like, okay, well, I do want to do this for myself, like being a little selfish, but being giving on the other side, whether it's your spouse or your kids or I coach and then my boss. I'm like, so I guess that part of a curse too is being like externally driven is so good, but then also it's just like, okay, when do I find the time to just sit back and just chill? I don't think I have a chill mode, Josh. Do you?
you know, I that's a good way to put it. The It's hard to flip the switch. I find for myself, and this is also a blessing and a curse, I'm kind of all in or not in. I have a hard time being halfway in to something. Um, so like when I'm in fitness mode, I mean, this is not super true. I think I categorize myself as all in or not in. I think I probably break that mold in several areas of my life. So this isn't an absolute rule, but it is true in several areas of my life as well. Pizza, for example. I'm all in on pizza or I'm not in. I can't have one slice of pizza. Like
Yeah,
I'm a
you gotta
whole
go
pizza.
all.
Yeah, the whole pizza. Like, don't you start eyeing my pizza.
All right.
Right.
So food is definitely an addiction as much as
That's
fitness.
right. And so in a season right now, we're like, gosh, I'm gonna fly out to do semifinals here in a couple days. I am in like the zone of being all in and trying to dial my diet and make sure I'm really hydrating like mad and my training is incredibly focused and I'm like all in. Now because I'm right next to a goal, it's very extrinsically motivating for me, but then I can fall into a season where I'm like, I don't have anything. What am I really training for aside from just the joy of training? And I can start to pull back so much that it makes it difficult to get back on the rails again.
Start again makes it a little, I mean, you have that, it's that baseline, but it makes it hard to be like, what drives you next?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and this is all very relative. Like, obviously, it's not a dire set of circumstances, but for me, relative for me and where my motivation stages and intensities can flux, I do have a tendency to be like super dialed and all in, or like way on the other side of it, enough where it mentally it's a challenge to get back into it. We've talked a little bit about this on previous podcasts with a few buddies of mine, like, after the CrossFit Games, for example, you're kinda just like, "Flip the switch. I need to chill." That's probably the most chill mode I find, is immediately after the games when that's, like, the mountaintop, and then, "Okay, chill," but then getting back into really rigorous training after that, that is tough. That's a tough stage.
But I think that's probably the healthiest way to approach this, right? You get to the
Probably.
top and then you just slow descent, that it's like an eccentric type of thing, right? You're just enjoying what the come down is, and you're like, all right, I can flip the switch again. I'm not really that way. I don't have an extreme one way or the other. And I think that comes from just always, like even in dentistry, you're just constantly multiple things you got to be doing at a time. So I'm able to still stay focused here, but just, because I'm still coaching too and trying to be that hybrid athlete. And I guess that, I think about that too is going into college. Like I wanted to play college sports and we came from a private school, a small private school where, the smaller schools, you had to play all the sports because they needed the athletes
Yeah.
like in every sport to play the next one. So then when I got to college, I wanted to play basketball, but I also kind of wanted to play softball, so it was like, how do I do all this? And I couldn't do that at Wenatchee. I did it, but they didn't have enough prerequisites to get me into dental hygiene school. So when I went to Spokane, I had to be at Eastern to get some dental hygiene prerequisites. But then I had to play at Spokane Falls and Spokane Community to play basketball and softball. And I had to take a class here, a class there to get some credits. And it
Man,
was crazy,
more
but
success.
it was cool looking back on like, how did I do that? I think that just transferred. I'm like, okay, I guess that's still happening to me to this day. But
Yeah, it's a set of behaviors you've just conditioned. You're very used to keeping all the balls in the air, essentially.
yeah, but that also might prevent me from, I talked about too. I've always been this bubble athlete when it came to after I found CrossFit. I'm like, I hate
Mm.
this really bad. But when you first start, you also never know really where you will be in that mix. Like, are you going to be an average CrossFitter? Are you going to be, towards the top? They used to always say, you just get to that next division and then you'll be right there. But then you're wasting 4 or 5 years. I'm like, I don't want to do that. You know, I just keep playing and people, same top 10, keep beating me all the time, Josh. And then they take 10 one year and I'll get 12. They take 20 and I'll get 22nd. It's just like, but
Yeah.
I still enjoy it.
Well, I'm grateful to hear that, doing it more for the love of competition and just, being healthy and finding joy in the journey, not the placing. The placing helps. It's nice. It's a nice payoff.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes. Feels good.
I definitely am a leaderboard person. Like, I want to know where I'm at. But
All right. You can't be extrinsically motivated and not be a leaderboard.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Those
You
two
say
things
it.
go hand in hand.
You know what comes out of your mouth, and the rest of it behind you're like, yeah, that's not true.
Okay, so a couple things. One, you said you went to Eastern. My wife went to Eastern, EWU. That was pretty cool. I went to all my quarterback camps in high school at Eastern, and I thought for sure I was going to go there and play football. And so I have a special, I didn't. I played at Central Washington, still in Washington, but I have a special place in my heart for Eastern. So that's cool. I want to hear about, like, I'm kind of like, what's the list of all the sports that you have played? You have already listed a handful. And in the information that you had shared in advance, I know of a handful of other things that you've competed in that we haven't yet touched on. Walk me through all the things that you have competed in over the course of your life.
Okay, well, high school, like, man, we're a small school, so you had volleyball, basketball, and then fast pitch softball. And then as I got into college, it was basketball, softball. Then I got out and I was like, what am I going to do? So I joined soccer leagues. I played soccer, then went into some volleyball leagues, basketball, usually with the guys because there wasn't a women's league. So basketball was always my favorite. And then that just turned into train some triathlons, and then triathlons turned into marathons. And then when I got picked up on an adventure racing team, I don't know what you know. Have you ever heard of the Eco Challenge?
Yes, I had a boss that was insanely good at these.
Really?
Yeah, Josh Fitchett was his name, and he was an absolute, like, I couldn't fathom the endurance things he was doing.
Oh my gosh, that sport was like, I mean, the Eco Challenge went from like, 1 day or 3 day or like, a week long event. So, but that took everything all into one. Adventure racing was like, running, biking, rappelling. It was just absolutely, and you had to do it in a team dynamic. So there was navigation, but that was probably the coolest thing I've ever done because it just, you really had to work together as a team, but you got to what was the worst of the worst, the lowest of the lows when you don't sleep. You just have to figure that out. But I feel like all that transitions into what's next. There was always, they stopped doing the adventure race and eco challenge. I'm sure it was more of a safety thing and trying to get,
Probably kind of a liability.
yeah, I'm sure that got up there. With some of the things we did were like, can't believe they got insurance for that. But
Yeah.
so adventure racing turned into I half Ironmans. We did a few half my Ironmans. I never really had I didn't really want to do an Ironman after doing a few halves because when you get to that 13 mile half marathon at the end, it's kind of more like a shuffle. But it was just that drive to be what's next. And so I try to do that a little bit now. We moved to this area about a year ago, and I'm just finding there's some women's pickup ball and stuff, so we're gonna play. But have you tried some pickleball? That's super fun, and it just I think when you're an athlete, you can pick up these sports really easily. So I can just go in the mix and be fine. So I just really enjoy whatever's next. But CrossFit is just the love of that will never change. I mean, I don't think you'll ever find me in like a little global gym. I wouldn't know what to do, even though I programmed before and coached and done every side of it. And that's what was so important too. I think raising kids was great with that because then I wanted to have my kids just try everything, right? And then as you get older, you'll figure it out. And so that I'm sure that's probably what have listened to you were kind of doing that you with your own kids and some other athletes I've heard you interview. I was just like, let them feel it out, and then as they get older, if they weave into just one, that's great. But there's so much benefit to trying everything as you're young. What do
Yeah,
you think, Josh?
Completely. Totally believe in that. Our kiddos, it's hard too because like the parents are as competitive as the kids. You could argue they're more competitive as the kids, and they're kind of living vicariously through their kids. And what one of the themes that I'm finding is that the parents of the kids that were legitimate athletes handle this much better. I'm gonna get myself in trouble for saying
No,
this
I think that's very true. Yeah.
because they're very clear on like they're very realistic on where their kid stands from an athletic perspective. Like they've been through it, they've lived it, they've worked to make progress, and they know like, okay, yeah, they have X level of talent, and it may be no good, and it might be wow, they have some real promise, or man, they're an actual stud right now.
You're realistic because you can see it.
That's
Yes.
you've been around athletes, you've been a competitive athlete, you just know how to identify, like, who's got it, who doesn't, who will never have it, and who has the chance to go acquire it. Like, you've seen all these types. And then you have parents that have never played competitively, maybe aspired to, and just lived a very different lifestyle, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, obviously. It just means they don't have that lived experience, and so they're living through their kids, and naturally, you're like, well, I think my kid is an all-star. I'm like, well, they really like the sport, but I don't know if they're naturally gifted in this. And so the bias and the lens with which they see their children is obviously very skewed. And you would expect that. But it does create a big gap between the parents that have this big time athletic background and the way that they kind of assess their own kids and the realistic expectations they have versus those that don't have necessarily the athletic background and the way that they assess their kids. And that's the way of the world, and so I don't expect it to be any different. It's a truth, but it does change the pressures I find that the parents place on the kids.
Absolutely.
Only in my experience, this is not an absolute statement, but in my experience, I feel sometimes like the pressure is higher from those parents who desperately want their kids to achieve the athletic dreams that they didn't.
Percent. And coaching my kids growing up too in the sports, it was the same thing. It was like, thank gosh I did have that perspective of saying, okay, so and so, he's a great athlete, but I really just want him to come and enjoy it, or he's not going to come back, or he's going to be, fighting me to be here. He's just not having a good time when he's here. And that dynamics of just also, you know, these parents want you as coaches to be like push, 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 push. And it was just like, okay, well, they don't want to even be here. Then my push becomes something that I'm the negative influence.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, remember that old saying, like, you should be a coach, you should be a referee, and you should be an athlete. And then you can have kids and put them in
Yeah.
sports, right?
And you need to work in customer service. You need to be like a
Yes,
waiter or a waitress or
exactly.
something.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
you need to get humbled and serve others before you can start judging coaches and referees. I also coach my kids' football team, and I've coached his baseball team, and my wife has also coached his basketball team. And do we have opinions on the coaches when we're not the coach? Yeah, we do, but we keep our mouths shut because we know it's
Yeah,
not an easy job.
exactly.
And thank goodness they're out here just volunteering their time. Like,
Yeah.
thank you. That's the main thing.
Have to
But yeah, as a
take
coach,
a pause.
when you've got the kids there that are verbally telling you, I don't want to be here. I don't like this sport. I'm here because my parents are telling me to be here.
Yeah.
And yet we're playing a team game. And if you don't, pull your weight as a teammate here, you're increasing the risk of the kids around you because your job is to, protect them or whatever the position that they're playing. That's tough.
I remember when my daughter was in high school and she was playing basketball, and I coached her all the way up to high school. So she gets into high school, and it's a very, I know this coach because this, I played against her. So I knew what type of coach she was. She was just really hard on the kids, really, really tough. So my daughter's a very good athlete, but she's also kind of a sensitive snowflake at times, right?
I get
So
that.
So I find that, the first couple years she's doing well, and then all of a sudden it's just that kind of belittlement type of approach to the kids. And she was just losing the love for the game. And just worked so hard on just being, teaching her self-esteem and confidence. And you're such a good player. And to not say anything when your crowd was really tough, right? Because I'm not that parent that's gonna do that. But after the game one time, I was just like, "Are you enjoying this?" She's like, "It's just really hard when you work so hard and the first thing you do, make a mistake, like as a point guard, you get you pulled out of the game and in front of everybody, you get belittled." So I told her, I said, "How about this? how about every time you make a mistake or you coming into a timeout, just look up at me real quick and we'll just have this little sign or whatever, like it's gonna be okay. Like your coach doesn't have to be your best friend. She doesn't have to be the best mentor, but listen, she's doing something to help you guys, but you don't have to let that consume you, right? So we got to the point over a few games, she would just look up real quick and it worked great until she was caught on video one time of looking up in the stands and towards me. She got benched for 2 games after that. Yeah,
Why?
isn't that crazy? So I was just trying to help her just like still love the game. But then battling a coach that was just like saw that she wasn't dialed in a timeout she was looking up. But the good thing was about it, like we could laugh about it afterwards. And it was just like, that's your perspective. But that just made her love the sport without let somebody ruin it for her.
That's really cool. I'm glad that you get to share that kind of a moment, having lived through countless pressure cooker moments and various games and then coach those and then just observe. Like my daughter, for example, plays soccer and like we don't ask her to look at us. She looks at us every time something happens.
Does she?
Something goes on and then kind of the ball separates and she's like, "See that?" We're like, "Yeah, good job." Like, "Good for you." And yeah, it's just my wife and I get just a kick out of it.
I love
But
that because you
it's
do. They
fun.
know that you care,
Yeah, it's fun
right?
to feel like you're really sharing the moment with your kid,
Yeah.
It's like and they're wanting to share it with you. That's, like, the cool part when something happens, usually it's, like, when they done something positive, they kinda
Yeah.
peek, like, make sure mom and dad saw that thing, but
Gosh,
there's
yeah.
that moment of, like, shared experience, which is just those
Well,
are
and then it makes you laugh, yeah, because my son would do that too, like, looking up at him like, "Yes, I'm here. I see you. You did good." But, I mean, to have that and then they're gonna be those type of parents. I see those my kids are just wonderful parents, and I just see, like, okay, there's a lot of things that I did right there, I think. I mean, you make mistakes along the way, but there's also a lot that, like, "You know what? This went well." I think they're good people, but they're seeing them be human beings and being parents is like, so this is it all comes together. But it also comes from mistakes we all made growing up too, and in college sports. I think I gave up playing basketball at Eastern because that coach just made it rough on us. And I just couldn't at that age, to be able to just be like, put it away, let it consume me less and move forward. That's why I'm learning to navigate all these different roles as I get older and just like live through the emotions up and down, the adversities, the grief, the chaos, the tragedies, and like sit in it. Like I really learned to sit in it. And even if it's CrossFit, like one year I think I was 11th or 12th and I took 10. I'm like seriously? But I just sit in it and then, just think about it less every day, right? Just let it consume you less. And so I'm hoping that that still will just keep me going and not have me just fall off the planet for this. I don't know. Does that make sense?
I think it does, and I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. Where it's leading me here, Gina, is you have qualified for the Magic City Games, the semifinals.
So excited for that.
Yeah, talk me through this. Like, I'm kind of curious in your CrossFit season. There's many things I want to circle back on, but now that we're here, let's talk about this season of CrossFit for you. Like, how did the Open go? Quarterfinals, you now qualified, so we know that the outcome, but just talk me through like some of the highs and lows of the season so far.
But I went into this season knowing I'm getting the higher end of this age bracket. And I also know, shoot, they cut the field in half that they were taking this year. So super bummed me out. But I understood that it was the 20th anniversary, and that was probably why bringing everybody back together. So my ultimate goal of making the CrossFit Games was kind of off, my just radar here this year. So when they announced and Jason announced they were going to have some in-person semis, I watched Micah from Magic City, and I really felt like it's kind of like when Joe and Bob did Legends, how great they created that for us, right? I really felt like I've done it Legends probably every year since I have, like, to give back to them what they provided for us. And here's this Micah coming along, like, you know what, I'm going to do in person just for Masters. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever that this guy wanted to do this. So I made that is my goal. Like, I'm going to hopefully place high enough and I'm going to treat this as my CrossFit Games, right? There's the top 15 in my age group, but there's just always like that top ones and then there's separation for the rest of us. And I thought, okay, this is my goal. So the open, I thought, I wanted to do well, but I was trying not to redo workouts. This is the first open I think I've ever done. I didn't redo any workouts. And
Nice.
so it was like in 70 something, and it's probably one of the lower ones I placed. I don't know how you felt, but that wasn't one of the top placements that I've had in an open this year. Not
I
for
know.
you either. I was like, "What just happened?" And I thought, "Okay, well," then I was kinda nervous about quarters. Quarters went okay for me. The only workout that I redid was that deadlift one, and then I redid that one thinking my dubs are good. Like, I can usually do 100 dubs unbroken, no problem, but I was getting gassed in that workout the first time, and so I was having to break them up, which I hoped I didn't. So, I decided to redo that one, finished 2 seconds slower, and pulled my hammy. So then I was like, so I'm doing with the hamstring pull. Dang it. But I think I finished 46th or 47th overall. So I kept thinking between Del Mar and Magic City, maybe I'll get an invite. And I did get an invite to both. But my goal is Magic City and just giving back to everybody that does this for our masters community. So stoked that I can be a part of Micah's, thing. Congratulations to everybody that's grabbed for both. And I'm glad there's more athletes even down the leaderboard or get opportunity to do this. I think that's just going to just really get people more excited about that, whether they do this again next year or not. But
Yeah.
anyway, so now I'm just excited to whatever he puts out there. It's a different venues. The Crossplex seems totally cool. So I'm in. I'm in. This is gonna be my CrossFit Games, Josh. I don't care how I finish, but I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it because it's gonna be, I think, a very unique opportunity. Naturally, it's the first of its kind. The question is, will it persist? Like, will it continue? Don't know.
I don't know.
That's a huge TBD. I keep seeing things on like social media about the level of participation, the level of signups, and all the open slots that are still available. And, I don't know what to make of that. My first thought is, my hope is like, this is just some drama on social media, and half the things I see there, I dismiss completely. But there's probably some truth to like the logistical challenges that are in people's way in signing up. One, it's expensive to get out to these places. And so like, okay, you got to make a real decision if that's where you want to put your money. You got to take some time off work. You're taking time away from the family. And then if your goal is to qualify for the games, depending what age division you're in, there's only a couple spots that are you've got to land on the top of the podium or top 1, 2, or 3 to get your ticket to the next level. And then how many people are signed up total? And is this going to happen again? That's kind of the big question I have in my mind now is when we show up there, what's the energy like? How many people are actually taking the floor? How many spectators have arrived to help, buy swag and make it worth the vendor's time? How is the experience for the volunteers? And when all is said and done, do they walk away going, "Success. We're gonna do this again next year."
And but I can see where I think that, yeah, if you're one of those top athletes and we all know who our top competition is, right? You know who always beats you. So if you think you're going to go to the games and you think, man, the top five are there and you don't really quite beat them. So either we're using this as an experience, right? That's just going to be fun, enjoy the journey. Ones at the top are like, they're looking at this thinking, if so and so's going, I'm just gonna stay home and do in-person semis and because Magic City is a week away, right? From just in person. Yours is 2 weeks. So then you get that, can I recover in time? So I think this year people really wanted it, and maybe the ones that are holding back are the top ones are thinking, how's that gonna affect my in affiliate semis? But I hope that like Micah had said, like he would want to do it next year, just maybe one for the US instead of two, and maybe the system's better. Maybe they have more time in between. We got mixed up with the email invites. I think that can be tough too. Hopefully, this is a learning year and they'll be not losing money on these events so they can at least get another year to try it out, try it better. But I think
Yeah,
there's a difference. Ones that want to go and experience just this level, they might be the ones that don't make legends every year. So, like, this is such a cool experience for those that maybe don't get to do that. Will maybe drive them even further next year. But I'm just going to embrace it as I don't know what's gonna happen next year, so I'm gonna be all in this year.
heck yeah. It's exactly my thinking as well, and I hope I hope it's all it's cracked up to be. So you were at Legends in Arizona
Yes.
this past whenever we did it. I don't even recall.
Yeah. Usually in
Okay.
December. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first Legends. That was really cool. We Boulder sponsored it, and so we were the title sponsor. It was Boulder everywhere. It was fantastic. Man, I
Yeah,
just had
awesome.
blast looking around and seeing, our logo all over the place. That was really cool. And, yeah, the competition went great, and I thought it was well run. We introduced leaders jerseys, and so we got to put some leaders jerseys on
That
folks, and it
was
was just a
super
cool
cool.
experience all around.
And, they have the pool. Arizona has that complex really is great, right? We didn't utilize outside this year, but they have in the past. But, having two different floors and I just like multi, floor options, and that's been great. And so I just really appreciate Bob and Joe doing that all these years because, I mean, it's so much time. It's so much expansion. You just never know if you're going to come out and diving into your own pockets. So,
And it just invites so much criticism and feedback, and so at some point, I mean, Joe is pretty numb to it at this point, I think,
yeah.
but, that's still I'm not the type that could deal with all of that criticism. I can I have thick skin to a degree, but once it penetrates, I'm like, I don't want any more of that feedback."
You're like, we're doing this for you guys. Can you just sit back? Unless you want to take the reins, then maybe you should just be in the backseat one of it. That's why I'm just listening to Mike. It doesn't seem like it bothers him very much. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do this and do the best I can and hope it's successful. And just, he's an
Yeah.
experienced, event coordinator. So that's cool too. So pass it on to the next guy and hope it goes well. But yeah, again, in this CrossFit season every year, we just never know what's coming next. But I just appreciate having the sport, right? So that's why I don't really get negative about anything, whether it changes or who knows what to expect. I'm like, I get to still do this. Just please don't mess it up for the rest of us. I just want to play.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. Like you just said, I get to still do this. That is really cool. I mean, you've earned the ability to continue to do this at a really high level. You're 58 years old. You're going to semifinals. You're competing with some of the fittest people in the world, and you're among them. Like this is a really cool thing that doesn't just get handed to you. You've earned this over several years of consistency. Talk to me about some of the consistency, like your mindset. You had mentioned, I think, in have this next level mindset. I think you used that phrase. Like, what does that mean to you? And you'd mentioned a strength of like, you have this ability to grind, even though like maybe you're not the most gifted gymnast or the strongest person on the floor, but you do have these gifts. And so talk to me a little bit about all that.
I think that's where it helps almost being a little bit of a hybrid athlete too, where I have to be, when I'm out of town 3 days a week, I'll head up to your Ellensburg and they have an Ellensburg CrossFit there. um, Taylor, the owner, he played ball at Central for football too, and they want to run a wonderful gym. So I get to, compete in class too, where then I can see the younger athletes in there, and I still get to chase, and that kind of gives me like I can still hang. So I know I'm not out of the mix yet. So that next level mindset always kind of like I can see the guys in there. I'm like, I could do this and I can still do it well. And then I come back to Tri Cities and then I have to coach that next couple days. Then I'm home. And then I get to take everything I learned and be able to be like, take athletes in there, the youngest to the oldest. I coach a class or a few classes that are from, I mean, they can be 16 to probably my oldest is probably in the 70s. And it's cool to be able to see some of the older athletes going, I can't do that. But I'm like, if I can do that, something, it doesn't have to be this level, but just challenge yourself to that next level, whatever that is, if they want that. But it's been super cool to be able to be that hybrid athlete and be in my garage kind of doing some of it. Over time, I don't do like a lot alone. So I'll even go to the gym and just do my boulder like before class type of thing, or I'll do my strength portion like that. But then I'll have somebody that's a good gymnast come in with me on my gymnastics portion and be like, okay, I want to try to keep up with you. So I always seem to have someone else a little bit above me, usually a lot younger, to be able to give me like, I can still do that. So I'm going to keep trying for this CrossFit Games. I'm going to get there. It may take me till I'm 70, god dang it, but
That's
I
right.
think I told you just my husband got there first.
Did he qualify?
He did. My husband, let's see, in like 2015, I think he came on board realizing as I was coaching and training and do all this stuff that maybe I should start coming to classes a little bit. And he had a lot of a running background and a triathlete background. So he started doing this, and I was like, he's pretty good. Like, and he can grind like a. He's got like you, like he's all in. He will dial all in. In 2019, he makes top 10, and I'm like, cool.
You're like,
I was
"Oh,
so
come on,
excited.
buddy."
Sorry. I was so excited for him. I'm like, dang. So I went there and watched him, and yeah, it was super cool experience. I was so excited for him. But I think that also gave him, he's always such a good supporter of me. Like, he wants me to get there too someday, just so, because he knows that that's always been my goal and wasn't really his, but he just happened upon, qualifying the games. In 2020 did too, but that was the year they didn't have the Masters go or anybody, but that was COVID year, right?
Yeah, bummer.
Yeah. So,
So he
but
qualified but didn't get to go compete.
he competed in 2019, but not 2020. They
Okay, okay.
he qualified, but that was when they decided.
Well, I mean, gosh, that's one, really cool for him. I can appreciate what you must have been feeling.
Yeah.
But the fact that you guys share this, the fact that you share fitness, and
Yeah.
not only do you share fitness, you share competitive fitness at a very high level. And so the way that that wires you and your understanding of what it takes to be competitive at that level and the sacrifices that need to be made and the level of
Yeah.
dedication and discipline and all the things, you both clearly get it. That's really cool. And that's a powerful combination because the flip side is, well, one of the flip sides is you have one athlete who gets it and has all those attributes, and you have another spouse
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
and is making it difficult. That's not the right way to frame
It
it.
is, but yeah, because it's a selfish sport, right? If we want to be at that high level, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I don't mean to say make it difficult like it's intentional, but they live a different lifestyle and have different priorities and, which is great. It's obviously some of the reasons you married that person, but in
Right.
some cases, they just conflict pretty radically with the kind of habits that are necessary to support the level of fitness that you want. And so some eat differently, some sleep differently. Just those daily habits may not support the same lifestyle that you're trying to achieve. And that can be really challenging and it can create tension in the family depending on how those priorities align. And I've seen that many times over. So the fact that you guys are both aligned so well on this particular area of your lives is really darn cool. And I'm sure it enables you to share some really cool experiences along the way when you get a strategize about an upcoming event or
Yeah.
go and work out together and have some shared suffering. And that's really cool and pretty darn special.
Yeah, it really is. Because as you find, Boulder's an incredible community and incredible programming, the best I've ever experienced. I've been through a lot. But you also miss having a one-on-one coach, correct? I mean, that's one thing. Like, you got to be driven, but I mean, I'm watching videos constantly. I'm constantly looking at my own. I don't really ever get coached. So Kent sometimes will come in there with me. He just had a knee replacement about a month ago, so he's like building back. But just today I had him at the gym with me, and I'm like, hey, just trying to get stringing some bar muscle ups together. Can you, take a look? And he'll video me. And I'm like, that gets to be that person that gets that other eyes on me. So I truly appreciate that. But yeah, that's something you don't see very often. And I don't take that for granted because they'll be like, hey, if you're not going, I'm still going every day. Right. He's good about that. And I don't know how that's one thing I've always wanted to ask, like, as we're turning this all different directions. Like, do you find that like you miss having someone coach you? A lot of the women I talk to at the top of their game in mine, they all have coaches. And I always wonder, like, is that what I'm missing? Probably be a big step up, but also I'm not willing to give up on, I'm not willing to give my coaching time and my time at the affiliate helping people. So what do you
Yeah.
think a good mix is of that? Or
That's a good question. I've not really thought about that, which is interesting because growing up as an athlete, I've had countless coaches and they've all played an impactful role in my life. Some were great coaches that, to the point you were making earlier about some of your daughter's experiences, where when you're a belittling coach and you kind of your style is to yell and demean in order to motivate, I was the sensitive snowflake as well. While I was a really good athlete, I also took it really personal and it just
yeah.
kind of crushed my spirit when I would get that kind of coaching. But I also had some great coaches that lifted me up and were very direct, but honest and encouraging. And the way that that just put wind behind my sails was so powerful. And so And then I've had every other degree of coach in between. And so having taken all that, it's informed how I coach, my kids and the style that I want to bring and things that I know that I've responded to and have seen others respond well to. But to your point on like coaching now, the answer is it depends. And this is a total cop out, but let me share my thoughts on it. It really depends on the type of athlete you are. For example, someone like yourself, you've played sports your whole life. No doubt you have built a lifetime of experiences that help you become really body aware. You're aware of like where you are in space. You have a really good sense of how you move, how your body responds to different movements, when there's a kink in a place that you should probably be a little cautious of, when things are like well lubricated and feeling good and you're kind of on your game, when your nervous system is fried, when it isn't fried. You've collected so much data over the years and you've, whether intentionally assessed it or not, you've processed it to some degree and you're familiar with it. And that allows you to make more informed decisions than someone who doesn't have the experiences that you have.
Yeah, that's very true.
And so I think, one, that can allow you to go without a coach and it's not a thing because you have all the data that you need. If your coach was the coach that provides the data, but you already had it, you kind of don't need the coach.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're the athlete that has the data, but you need the motivation and accountability, and that's what the coach provides, then yeah, that can be a really successful relationship. So I would say it's like, what is the thing that you need most? And is the coach the best person to provide that? And if so, that can be great. But if you're an athlete that's incredibly in tune with yourself, you keep yourself motivated, you're highly accountable, you're super disciplined, you move incredibly well. You do all the mobility and the cool down, and you can program or you have a program you follow. Like the question is, what is the coach providing?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
have all the things, does the coach fill a clear gap and adds clear value? If so, bring it on. But if you kind of have all those boxes checked, then it's like, well, what does the additional value of the coach provide? And if that's unclear, then I would say, yeah, probably I don't know if it's worth the investment. So it's very dependent on the athlete and
Yeah.
your awareness of yourself and all the things. And then it's very dependent on the coach and what is the unique value that they possess. And is that the thing that will get you to the next level? And I think if the answer is yes, great. It's an awesome place to invest. If the answer is unclear, then I don't know. I don't know if you'd make the investment in the coach.
And I'm not the great candidate for it anyway, because I mean, that person would be like, okay, I can do your training in a couple days, but then I got to go up to Ellsworth and then I got to go here. So that's why I love Boulder athletes so much, because I can do it at least 4 days in a row. But you're right. What you've learned so much, even having just major injuries and having a couple shoulder injuries and energy, what that has just taught me, like I know right away, like if I'm in a bad position, I don't, load a bad position. I can look at my athletes in class and kind of go, okay, you're not moving well, get a lacrosse ball or I mean, I easily can point that out now because I've lived through it myself. So you're right in a sense, like no coach is going to know you well enough, only that you know yourself. Then it's just becoming, where am I found myself last night actually reminds me, like, I still struggle a little bit with rowing, even though I know the technique, I teach it all the time, but sometimes it just feels just a little bit off. And so I watched a Power Monkey video with Jason in it, and
Yeah.
the guy was helping him. And I loved it. Even that, it was like, okay, I just got another cue or thing, just like Jason got a cue that day. So that reminds me that I can do the extra, research on things that I'm missing by that and not have to rely on no coach every day. Plus, I
Yeah.
couldn't follow the Boulder program even if I did. So I'm in a good space. And I'm willing to take whatever comes with that.
Yeah, that's another really good point is like if you're the athlete that is curious enough to go seek out information, whether that's a YouTube video or whatever it is, you're absorbing that content and that becomes kind of your coaching.
Yes,
And
yes.
so if you're doing all that, but that's the key thing that you also want from a coach, well then it's duplicative and I don't know if
Yeah, very much so. I
like
kind of really came to that realization last night. I'm like, I'm going to ask Josh this. And I was thinking, I think I got my answer last night, but I'm going to see if he agrees.
yeah. Where I find the most value, this is just a total selfish statement. This is not like, I think coaching is fantastic. So if you benefit from a coach, go do that. Like, absolutely encourage that. For me, I think I find more value in connecting with my peers, like people that are also very competitive and in a similar place as myself and like, hey, how did you approach this? What are you thinking about that workout? Where did you feel the most fatigue? What was the stimulus? Where I know we have some shared experience. Maybe they're a different athlete type. Maybe they're the same athlete type, but I still appreciate their perspective on it. Like, I just like to kind of think through things out loud and have a bit of a thought partner.
Oh, I love it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes I find that in my classes. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you have a great network with your wolf pack, right? I love hearing about that because that is your network. But there are guys that are also doing the same thing that you're doing. They know how you are as an athlete. You get this great competitiveness from that. And that's one thing that along the way, always looking for competitions every year, big ones that you meet so many people along the way. Like one of my best friends lives in the Boston area, and she and I, no matter what, we're always like within like 2 spots on the leaderboard. It's the craziest thing. But she's a more strength athlete, and I'm probably a little bit more of a go, go, go athlete. But we'll strategize like that too, even though she doesn't live here. And she's on a totally different path with her affiliate, her gym. But then some of the younger athletes at the gym, I'll be like, "Hey, I need you to test this workout for me and do it right next to it." And they're just great. So that's the kind of stuff where you have your wolf pack. I'm just finding my pack all in different areas, but it
Yeah.
seems to work. Yeah. So
That's awesome. That's a great people should be finding their pack.
yeah,
Like, whether they're in close proximity or they live across the country or across the world, find your pack, especially because it's incredibly valuable when in any stage of your athleticism, just it's good to have good people around you. Like, that's always true. In this context, it's great because, like, there's, great banter and camaraderie, and they push you and challenge you and support you. And if you don't have all of those things, it's hard to navigate honestly, it's hard to navigate CrossFit because you're gonna get humbled, you're gonna get your butt whooped somewhere. You're gonna probably have to battle through an injury somewhere along the way because if you're competing at a really high level, you're pushing your body to the limits,
me too.
and that's hard. Those can be some dark times, and you need people around you that have experienced it and can say, "Yeah, I get it. That's
And to
tough."
be totally honest with you on it. Yeah.
That's right.
She's awesome. She's got that Boston, just no hold back. Just like, yeah, you sucked on that. Like, you should probably go redo that. Or she will say, "Well, you beat me by a minute, so cool, good for you."
Yeah,
I love that.
gotta have those folks.
That is a good mix.
Let's see. I'm taking a quick peek at my notes here. We've covered some really interesting stuff, and thank you for this great discussion. Here's maybe I'll make this the last question. We'll see where this takes us. So you've gone through some surgeries. You've certainly not, new to being injured and having to be resilient and battle yourself back for that. And you'd mentioned in your comments there were some challenging times, both personally and with the family and all that. Right now, given where you are right now, and we just met, by the way, but man, your energy and spirit just seems like someone I would totally enjoy hanging out with. If you were to take this positive person that you are right now and go back and talk to yourself going through some of those really difficult moments, you pick the season, what would you say? What are some of the words of encouragement that you would provide? And like, how would you coach that version of you through that season of life?
Yeah, I think that's one thing too, and having kids, I think, helps too, because I always think of what would I do if as my what would I tell my kids, or what I want my kids to tell their kids when they go through this. I always think about that, like, putting that in perspective. So when some of the toughest times are rebounding, I'd be like, okay, I can't change what happened. I can't, but I can restart, right? I can retell a story but how I don't want to go back and always say, like, I wish I would have done that different. Because maybe then it would change how I view my future and how I am now today. Right. So I really want to take that life experience and especially like going through those college years, like, "Dang it, like, why did I choose that? But if I could have told my past self to just like, no, like live in it, don't like sit and talk about sitting in it for a little bit, but don't let it consume you. What things are out of our control, but you also just don't want to just be like, whatever, move on. I want to go through the emotions with it and go through the highs and lows and just be like, okay, that felt really bad. Like, I want to know what that feels like so that I probably won't repeat that. But I feel like it's like that mud puddle, you have these adversities and you have this grief or fear and all these emotions, and you circle them for a while and you look back on your life like, did I circle it when I wish I would have just been like, just get in it, suffer through it, what emotions came with it, and then just slowly let it consume less of you. That's what I wish I would have learned a lot earlier on in my life because I can't change the bad decisions I've made or mistakes I've made, but I can sure look back and say, gosh, man, I could just do better now, or maybe my kids will learn from my mistakes and just be better humans. And I think if I would have known that then, but I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have unless I went through that. I think that's one of those wisdom things we talk about what wisdom waste on youth, and it is, but I mean that's what comes with youth, right? You kind of go through that, and as long as you didn't just completely destroy things, like you can start that story over. You can reassess and be like, okay, I can move forward with that, but because of those past experiences, that's why I can think that way. I guess that's kind of wrapping that up like that. I want to be humble. I want to be kind. I want to be remembered as someone who's just a nice person, but willing to be able to like, but also was like a fierce athlete too, and
Mm.
just a great mom is the biggest thing about it. But also a mom that's made mistakes along the way. But I'm going to learn to sit in things now and just I don't make the CrossFit Games. I'm going to sit in it. They were like, dang it. But then I'm going to be like, all right, I need to just consume those emotions and just process them instead of just trying to skirt around. Like, I'm going to get in that mud puddle and just go with it. And then, I don't know, Josh. That's not what I think about it.
I'm no, I am loving it. Like in my mind, I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. I'm so grateful that you said that. And I love that you have that perspective. And man, I wish that was a non-negotiable perspective for parents. I wish all parents had that because naturally if they have it, an appropriate degree of that filters down to the way that they raise their kids and the things that they'll allow their kids to sit in for the right reason. And instead, and by the way, I'm more on the helicopter parent side between my wife and I, but there's a lot of helicopter style parenting out there where you're like, no, I won't allow my kids to sit in anything or to experience any of the fear, any of the heartache. I'm gonna solve everything. And if it's something's not going their way, I'm gonna remove them from that environment immediately and get them into something good. And the downside of that is, like, horrifying because it means your kid never experiences difficulty. They just always get something easier placed in front of them, and then whenever they do experience it, they don't know how to deal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
constant thing to want to rescue them, right?
That's right. Parents are just rescuing and rescuing, and, like, obviously, the intent is righteous. Hey, you wanna keep your kid from experiencing bad things, like, yeah, we all understand that, but the reality is when you do that, and that is the only thing that you do, your kid doesn't get to experience how to work through those things, how to deal with the really dark and difficult things. Now you can be there to support, you coach them through that, like, absolutely be there,
Yeah.
but to just remove it completely and, like, it's not a thing that they get to experience. I just have I'm not gonna share any names or all that much specificity here, but I have a lot of examples that I have observed from people in our larger circle where I'm like, "Man, do you know why your kid has panic attacks? Because you don't let them deal with anything difficult, and so the moment it presents itself, that is the result." And like, man, you wanna help but I'm not gonna coach parents on how to parent their kids. That's not a thing.
Because they're still learning too as parents, right? They're still
Yeah,
constantly learning how when not to rescue. There's not like this great little handbook that you get, right? But when
that's
you
right.
do
So
that,
it's
that's
hard, especially when you care about the kid, you care about the parent. Man, this is really difficult, and by the way, this is not to suggest that we're doing it perfectly, like, we have put our foot in it countless times, but you do learn from those things, and then you try to do it a little bit better, which is the point that you're making, and that's what I just love so much, and so there's a theme here about and you've brought this up multiple times, I'm trying to think of a fun title, it might be the name of this podcast, but, like, sitting in the mud puddle and being cool
yeah,
with it. There
yeah.
is
I think
real
that
value.
is it. Like, be uncomfortable, grieve, be experience fear, experience all that. Not to let it, like I said, to me is in one thing. That's the scary part when everything is just, if you are consumed by it, then you need to reach out for help. But it's okay to lose control. It's okay to be out of control. It's okay to want to control things, but then it's okay to just be like, all right, like I need to sit in this, but then a little bit less every minute, every day. But gosh, that's taken a lot of roller coaster things along the way to get there,
Yeah.
right? But while you're still raising young kids, it's also fun to listen to the parents and be like, hey, I'm past your point. It's so good to hear parents like you, like, no, you still kind of get it. Like you want to kind of navigate. You just wish you could help other parents get there a little faster when the kids are the ones that are just really struggling these days. I can't imagine being a teenager these days and everything's on video and everything is, it's just crazy. Phones everywhere. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Yep. Yeah, that's what we're in right now, and, we're not gonna do it perfectly, that's for sure, and, it's a little scary, it's a little anxiety inducing, and so the thing that we can count on is, like, making sure we have a really good relationship that's genuine, sincere, we share faith as a family, we've got open lines of communication, and we're just trying to set, like, the groundwork so that when those scary, crazy, weird things come up, at least we can lean on the things that we have invested in over the last 10, 12, 13, 14 years to build up and hope that those things are strong enough to carry you through some really challenging seasons, whatever those seasons are and whatever they look like. And so, like, it is, parenting is a long game. You got to be in it for the long haul. And yeah, sorry.
No,
I've
that
spent
is
too
it.
much.
I think that's where faith is huge too. That faith is that, that umbrella. Like if you have that, that's going to be like faith to get through the mud puddle. Faith, like I'm in a different phase of life and my mom has Parkinson's and you become a daughter again, right? And went from a daughter to a parent to a spouse, and now I'm a daughter again. So that phase of life just really teaches you to be like, you guys got to have faith that, you know, that you're going to get through this mess, but you're going to just don't circle around it anymore. Just get in it and experience a little bit and then get back out as quick as you can. But that's why the Boulder community is great too, because of this Circle app. You see people are very honest and open. I love that about it. And it can be driven by, workouts, but it all can be driven by injury and just all the people that you had that have special needs kids, all that things comes around Circle. As adults, we get that now a little bit too, but people that share the fitness part of it too, but we're still just normal people with everyday, families and all the adversity. So that's been a godsend this last year. I think Boulder has really changed and made it more fun for me. And I'm excited to get back to that community as much as I can because even though I'm not in it every day in my garage doing exactly what I do, I'm in it and I'm still doing it. Might be on a different day that you're doing it, but I can go back in that Circle app and check all the time and just be like, welcome, let's go.
I love that. I'm so glad that you're invested in that and finding the value in it. I mean, we've talked at length in various podcasts about the power of community, and it's like it's real. Like you just can't shake it. When you've got it, you know it and you feel it, you benefit from it. And when you don't have it, sometimes you don't know it. You don't know that you don't have it yet.
Yes.
And then when you find yourself in it, you're like, wow, this is actually amazing. So the quality of the people, it's not just having people around you. You got to have the quality people around you that are breathing life into you and helping support you in the ways that you need to be supported and challenging you and holding you accountable on all those things. And I naturally I'm biased, but I do feel like Boulder is just loaded with those people and it is such a good environment.
It's amazing, and I just transfer that back in my classes too. Like everything I take from this is just like reflection. I'll wear my Boulder thing and I'll wear my CrossFit restraint, and people just see that and they see what I'm doing before and after. So I get to give back to that. You're like, yeah, this is pretty awesome. You guys should be a part of it. And one day, maybe I'll get my affiliate to just move over to Boulder affiliate. I haven't only been here a year, but that would be my goal.
Let's go. Let's go. That's a whole nother topic, but let me know how we can help. Well, Dina, happy Friday. This has been such a fun conversation. I really am like charged up by your energy and optimism. So thanks for sharing that with me and sharing your story. I think folks are really going to find you relatable. I think they're going to find your story super relatable, and I'm grateful you made time to share it today.
Hope so. Thanks for reaching out. I'm super nervous, but I'm like, you know what? We're all real people, so just do it. I learned something from everything that I've listened to on other people. So I appreciate that. And getting more women in the mix too has helped. But thanks, Josh. I hope to first of all, good luck at, semifinals of Del Mar, but have a blast. And I'm sure you're going to make it to the games, and we'll be big supporters of everybody there in the Boulder community.